Radio Romania International. You are listening to our one-hour broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.ro Channel 1. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter and other social media platforms. Our programs are also available on TuneIn and via satellite Eurosat 16A on 11,512 MHz, vertical polarization, azimuth 16 degrees east. Symbol rate 29,950 mega symbols per second, standard DVB-S2, modulation 8 PSK, audio PID 510. We wish you good reception conditions.
Hello, you are listening to the news on Radio Romania International. I am Vlad Palcu. Let's take a look at the highlights of today. The COVID-19 vaccination campaign continues in Romania. Our President Klaus Iohannis on Thursday and Friday is attending the European Council meeting. And the state and social security draft budgets have reached Romania's parliament. The COVID-19 vaccination campaign continues in Romania. 1.5 million doses have been used so far to vaccinate some 850,000 people, mostly with Pfizer-BioNTech. The Moderna and AstraZeneca vaccines have also been administered across the country. The vaccination of education employees through school inspectorates began on Wednesday in Bucharest and most counties. The whole procedure will take until March 10th for the first dose of vaccine, and authorities estimate that 60,000 people will be immunized during this period. So far, more than 42,000 teachers have already been vaccinated. On the other hand, almost 4,000 new cases of people infected with SARS-CoV-2 have been reported today, following about 37,000 tests run nationwide. In total, since the beginning of the pandemic in Romania, over 790,000 cases have been registered, and about 90% of the patients have been cured. The total number of deaths has exceeded 20,000. The European Parliament's Transport and Tourism Committee on Thursday passed a resolution calling for the issuance of vaccination certificates for EU citizens. The document highlights the need for a new EU strategy on a safe, clean and more sustainable tourism. MEPs want an EU-wide vaccination certificate that could become a viable alternative to PCR tests and quarantine measures. Once there is sufficient evidence, vaccinated people don't pass on the virus. Restrictions imposed to stop the spread of coronavirus infection have caused deep recessions in 2020 in the European Union, hitting in particular the south of the continent. In the world, according to Worldometers, at least 113 million people have been infected with the new coronavirus so far. 2.5 million people have died, and more than 88 million have been declared cured since the beginning of the pandemic a year ago. Romania's President Klaus Iohannis on Thursday and Friday is attending an extraordinary meeting of the European Council. The members have gathered via video conference to discuss the current situation of the COVID-19 pandemic, preparedness for health threats, security and defense, and relations with the southern neighborhood. According to a draft conclusion document obtained by Radio Romania, non-essential travel within the EU and from outside must still be restricted, but in a proportionate and non-discriminatory manner, taking into account the specificities of each community inside or outside the EU. Also, the movement of goods and services in the single market should not be affected, the Council members believe. On Tuesday, Klaus Iohannis had a video conference with the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, and other European leaders in preparation for the summit. The state and social security draft budgets have reached Romania's parliament. Coalition leaders agreed the MPs representing the three parties will not file amendments and will endorse the bills as they were submitted by the executive. From the opposition, the Social Democratic Party criticizes this year's austerity budget and has prepared lots of amendments. However, there is little chance for amendments to be accepted that will substantially change the two bills, because Parliament has already voted on the law regarding the ceilings that set the financial constraints for the two budgets. This year the deficit cannot exceed 7.16% of the GDP, and personnel costs will have to stay below 9.8%. Most ministries have been allotted a higher budget than in 2020, so the idea of an austerity budget is out of the question, Finance Minister Alexandru Nazare said on Tuesday. The plenary vote on the two draft budgets is scheduled for next Tuesday. Starting next year, Romania will be granting 100 scholarships to young students from Belarus eager to enroll in higher education institutions in Romania. The scholarships will address BA, MA or doctoral school programs with teaching in Romanian or an internationally spoken language. This initiative allows Belarusian students, including those expelled for political reasons or who consider themselves threatened by Minsk authorities, to further their studies in prestigious universities in Romania. Through this decision, Romania wants to contribute to supporting the efforts of Belarusian civil society, thus meeting national and European foreign policy goals, the Foreign Ministry reports. And that was the news on Radio Romania International.